Hello guys, welcome to another video. We have here this beautiful Alpha Spider, different from the other Spider that I have up there, okay? This is another one, not the same. As you can see, the interiors are completely different from the other one. This is the one that I did a video about the bad start. It is the injectors. We now know that the injectors are a big issue on these engines, and the 1.3s and the 1.9s, the later ones only, and the 8 valve ones, the later ones. So injectors are a must on these engines. So we did that. Now we have here another issue that the customer replied to me. Okay, this car was on another workshop. In fact, it was on another dealership, and we have that complaint about the bad start. Now that is fixed. We have another issue with the DPF, and we have an issue with the soft top over here that I already have the diagnosis for that. I'm just waiting for some parts to do the video. So about the DPF over here, yes, I know, the modification, the annulment, the FAP off, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to speak on those terms here on the channel because I do not want to promote any modifications on that system because it is illegal to modify the exhaust systems on modern cars, okay? So I do not want in any way, shape or form to promote those kinds of modifications. What you have to have in mind is what is provoking that happening, because the car has 100,000 kilometers. Only now it's having problems with DPF. Something changed for that. This is the dry system of DPF systems, because if you remember, the FAP systems are wet and the DPF systems are dry, so there is no reason for this to be clogged up with age, unlike the FAPs, okay? So we have to do a better diagnosis and troubleshooting. Very simply, driving the car, I found the problem. The dealership said it was something else, does not matter right now, but they were wrong, okay? So the issue is, very early on my channel, I talked to you about thermostats. In the importance of the thermostat, I have a playlist down on the description that talks about DPFs, okay? And I talk about that. The thermostat is crucial with or without the DPF systems. Remember that? Now, what is the function of the thermostat? Is to have the engine on the service temperature, where the engine already expands and maintains that expansion in the metals on the parts inside, so it is the most efficient possible on the combustion, on the wear inside, and not to have so much fuel mixing with the oil and whatnot, okay? That is all very nice and good. What does this have to do with the DPF? You have to have some steps in order to have regenerations. One of the steps that you have to have is the temperature has to be above kind of 75 degrees centigrade on the engine coolant. If the temperature starts to climb down and up and down and up, the DPF, the system, the ECU, starts to shut off and on and off and on the DPF regenerations. That's why we have the problems with the DPF on this car. Now, the solution for this is obviously to remove the old thermostat and put the new one. I actually did that on the 16 valve, and I will guide you through on this one because this one, it is a little bit more tight. And I want also to remove here the battery tray to replace the clutch oil, the cylinders, okay? And I will help you through with that also here on the thermostat. But if you want to know more about that, down on the description, I have videos for thermostats as well. So on this case, on this car, the repair bill will be lower than to modify it, to do an annulment on the DPF. And also your engine will work better because it is more stable. The temperature is more stable. Also preventing here a crack on the head. Yes? So let's do some testing. This is very, 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 very common on TDIs. I only show you the Alfa Romeos, the Fiats, and whatnot here on the channel, but I also work on the other brands and the cars, and I see all the time, for example, as you can see down there, an Audi, okay? And all the time we have the problems with the thermostats on the 1.6 TDI. It's very, very very bad because the thermostat is right over here. Yeah, it's very hard access too. And on this car, you do not have a gauge to see the temperature, and you are clueless about that. Only with the diagnosis machine you can see the temperature of the engine. This car still has a gauge, and it works perfectly. So we'll do some road testing to see that temperature climbing and rising and climbing and rising, and it cannot be like that. Right off the bat, when the engine is cold and you drive for about 10 to 15 minutes, driving normally, no high speeds, okay, your thermostat over here has to put your temperature at service temperature at 90 degrees, okay? You do not need to drive like a madman, but on normal driving it has to be the quickest as possible at 90 degrees. That is the temperature for this car, okay? The temperature that is shown here on this car, because it is really not the real temperature, but you get it, okay? The needle has to be right there on 90 degrees permanently. No matter if you deaccelerate, accelerate, uphill, downhill, whatever, it has to be like that. So it is right now 9:30, and once we have 9:45 a.m. we will see how the temperature is going, okay? So here's the DPF, as you have the regenerations every 500 kilometers, sometimes on the new Julietas every 900 kilometers at a time. So the distance between regenerations is very large nowadays, okay? When the car is doing the regen, you have to have good engine temperature and some other stuff that is necessary for the car to know, okay, it is secure to have a regeneration right now, okay? I already talked about that on several other videos on my channel about DPFs, okay? I just do not want to repeat myself, not to bore you with this conversation. So once that temperature is reached, the car now says, okay, it is good to go on the regen, let's go. Start to regen. A perfect regen, it is not noticeable by the driver or someone on the back of the car, on the car behind you, none of that, okay? It's completely unnoticeable. And once the temperature, even during the regen, once the temperature of the engine drops, the regen cancels. And then you have a fault code related to cancelling of the DPF. And because of that, you now have another fault code related to DPF clogging. Because if it does not regenerate, it starts to clog. Okay? All of this caused by a bad thermostat. It is now 9:37 and the temperature is not near enough, 70 degrees. We have now 80 degrees, and if I deaccelerate, the temperature drops. It's not very noticeable, I'm sorry about that. My angle is not good, but I will catch you through, okay? So I have now 79 or 78. If I accelerate a little bit harder, the temperature starts to climb to 80. I cannot ever reach 90, which is never good. Only if I drive like a really, really crazy guy at night, like I did to test the car, obviously. Okay, now drops again. So you see that, and if I coast the car, start to drop to 70. Now you can say, well, but at coasting it will not regenerate. Yes, it will. Modern cars and not so modern cars will do regenerations and partial regenerations at coasting. Yes, they will. If you have a long enough road, it will do a regen. The regens are not made, well, are less made when you are doing hard pulls. So 82, 85, because I am going uphill. A little bit more uphill, but if I let it coast, start to drop again. Outside is 21 degrees centigrade, now coasting downhill. starts to go down at 80, 79. Okay, so you get the drift. Okay, so it's very unstable, and the system cannot figure it out because it works with patterns. The DPF system, or the program inside of the, look at that, 75, inside of the ECU works it with patterns. It learns the patterns of the car. This messes up the pattern completely off, and the car just does not know when to do the damn regeneration, just because of the thermostat. Sorry about the shakiness. This is a convertible, and the windshield over here shakes like crazy, like you already know. Okay. Another thing that I want to talk about the DPF systems nowadays with the urea, the SRC systems, is yes, both systems are on the exhaust, but they are independent. So you have the treatment of the DPF, and after that you have the treatment for the NOx gases. And most of the times what you have is a perfect functioning DPF with faults on the urea system, and vice versa is very uncommon, but it can happen. You can have a perfectly working urea system and have problems with the DPF. Okay, so you to understand that they are not just one big thing. They are separate systems on the same exhaust line. Okay, do not mix all of that together. If you want to modify something, you do not need to take everything out. Okay, so I'm removing here the antifreeze. I will put a new one, and as you can see over here, we have to take out here this intake charge pipe. We also have to take out here to a side these hoses, but it is not very difficult to do. I'll guide you through. I'm thinking about here a video that I did here on the 75 about the thermostat itself, not itself, but the function of it in reality, checking the temperatures on the engine, checking the temperatures on the radiator, checking when the fan should kick in, how long and whatnot. It is down on the description if you want to know more about that. Okay, so over here we have a tap that you must open to take out here the antifreeze. It is standard on all 159s that I know of. Okay, so I already showed you how to do that. On a timing belt of the 159, the 8 valve one, it is down on the description. Down here we have a 13mm head nut to hold down the charge pipe. And then just like on the 1.9, you have two screws, 5mm hex screws or bolts. This is a aluminum charge pipe. On the 1.9 it is a plastic one. Remove them, be careful not to lose them, they are very small. Next we have here this vacuum line to the servo, to the brake booster. I usually like to remove it just to be more safe, not to be broken. Next, check out there if that O-ring is going to need to be replaced. In this case it appears not to be necessary. We also have a humidity of oil over here. It appears to be here on this pipe. Very common to happen, and I already showed you how to solve that. Unlike the 1.9, we have here this assembly of hoses. I just like to take out this nut to put it to a side. Normally it is enough. If necessary, I help this out with a zip tie. And we have also here a bracket, okay? Nice and proud, so you do not forget about it. You can remove this at once. Now, the rest of the assembly is just about the same as the 16 valve one. So over here you have to take out the yellow tab up with your finger, and also if you can with your finger pull up here on this black tab. I did it with the wrench over here. Okay, so as far as I can see, all of the clips will be reused. I will not put new ones. I only put new ones if you have this style over here of clips. I like to take out the clips while I have the thermostat attached to the engine, so it be like much more easier. Not easier. Yes, I know I should have a pair of pliers for this, still do not have them. Like this. And then the little one over here on top, let's wait to remove the thermostat out a bit to reach it. Time to try to break free the hoses. Some of them are easy, some are hard. Expect antifreeze to come out. I'll put another tray. Be very careful about the oil leak over here on this area, because oil will drip down to this hose over here. The hose will expand and you will have a coolant leak, and voila, you have a broken engine head. Very common to happen on these 2.4s, okay? Be very careful with the oil leaks. Okay, now the 2 bolts that hold down the thermostat. Be careful not to confuse them with the bolts that hold down the heat exchanger. They are the exact same bolts, but obviously not that function. Yes, the 8-valve JTD engines are very, very complicated to replace the thermostat. Yeah, I know. And I do have 2 cars to do that job, but permissions are still to come for that from the customers. So they are the same, okay. Pop it loose. Be careful with your O-ring not to be there on the block. And now just the last clip. This is exactly the same as the 16-valve one. Sometimes I can open them like this. Yeah. Can you see? For how long they will work? Well, that depends on your antifreeze, right? Absolutely no RTV is required over here. The most that you can put over here is some silicone grease, but not silicone. So the grease allows you to put this in place without trying to take off the seal over here, okay? So just like on the 16-valve, I will put this smaller one first, okay, and clip it in place, and then do the rest. If you have a pitted head on the area of contact over here, you have to put just a little smidge of RTV all around. But consider this: if you have corrosion on the head, why is that? Why the corrosion appeared in the first place? It is obvious. It is because of the lack of maintenance of the antifreeze. So if you do the proper maintenance, you will save up big time over time. Again, I know I should have a special tool for this. Still waiting for some things to happen legally. Okay, now the thermostat can go in. Make sure that the O-ring, the square ring, goes perfectly in. Make sure everything goes by hand first, because the head is aluminum or aluminum or whatever you want to call it. There's 20 to 25 Newton meters over here on the 2 volts. Okay, enough. Today is very hot and very cloudy, so the weather is very, very humid. Now just start to clip them on. So the top one is already clipped. Now this one. Now this bottom one. Possibly trying to pass the clip first. Sometimes that happens. Keep calm here with the clips, okay? They are very easy to do. Do not worry about them a lot. Sometimes you have to work with your head, not with your muscles. Over here I think I have another pair of pliers that will work better. But this appears to do the trick. Oh yeah. So the main hose over there, and now here the clip in place. Now before assembling everything else, first of all try to pass clean water over here. The clean water will dissolve very well the antifreeze, the coolant that is over here on top of the engine, and it makes for a very much cleaner work. And if you have any leaks afterwards, you can identify and you can spot them very much easily. So before assembling the battery tray and the battery and all that stuff, let's put in the antifreeze, the coolant, and do the bleeding over here and there and see if everything is okay. The bracket for this assembly of hoses is in with a 13mm head bolt, a 10mm nut over here to hold down everything, okay? Make sure everything is in place. Now the charge pipe with the two short 5mm head bolts over there and one 13mm head nut down there. On the 159 with the M32 gearbox it is a bolt, and with the F40 it is a nut. We have here a stable temperature at 90 degrees. This is the temperature. Well, this information is filtered because the real temperature is the number one over there on the diagnosis machine. It's constantly moving about. It's normal to do that around the 90 degree figure. Okay. Then on the second line we have the back pressure of the DPF. I already tested it. It is a little bit high because we have 186 kilometers between regens, which is a little bit short, as is to be expected, okay, with the conditions that it have. And despite that, the car on the third line over there says that the clogging of the DPF is normal. The normal, it is a bit wide, the range of the normal. It is not 50 kilometers, it's 186, it's not bad, it's close to 200, but the car really does around 500, 400, depends a lot on the conditions of driving, okay? That being said, I could do a forced regen like I did on the other 159. I don't think that is really necessary, because the car is running, the car is understanding that the temperature of the engine is now stable and it can do the regen by itself. And let's just let the car do its thing and let the car know that it's now possible to do the regens without interruptions. And that is that, okay? Here you go, guys, another video ready for you, another video about DPFs. I have a playlist about DPFs, the problems and solutions that I found so far on the channel. I have much more to give, I have a lot more to show you as the cases are appearing. I show you, someone lost the t-shirt, I show you the issues and the solutions for this, okay? Also down on the description I have a lot that can and will be useful for you, including things for lack of maintenance also for tires, also for brakes, crank no start, lack of power, injectors, so many things that can and will be useful for you. See you next time, guys. Bye.